I really just wanted to talk about how hot she is and how she really is a girl's girl, petty, villainous, a romantic. She really has it all. Today we're talking all about Asajj Ventress because today, November 14th, 2024 is Asajj Ventress Day. We'll be getting into a character breakdown of Asajj, and I'm also going to do my makeup at the same time. I'm not going to turn myself into her, but I am going to do a look that is inspired by her and honors a lot of her character design. If you're ever interested in what products I'm using in my videos, I'll have them listed in the description down below. And if you're new, my name is Crystal Kyber, like the Kyber crystals in Star Wars, and I usually talk about Star Wars and I do my makeup at the same time.
The pleasure's all mine, my dear.
All right, let's get into it. Asajj Ventress is such a complex character and one whose story is rich in lore in both legends and canon. Personally, I feel like she's very underrated. I feel like in the recent years, she's gotten more and more attention. Like she has her lightsabers at Galaxy's Edge, which is pretty cool. And I really think it was the fans that really keep her legacy going. That's what Asajj Ventress Day is all about. It's about fans coming together to pay tribute to one of their favorite characters. I'll have a link to the official Ventress Day website if you guys want to check out any other content that other content creators are creating today. Ventress was introduced in the micro-series Star Wars The Clone Wars, November 14th, 2023 exactly. But I want to back it up a little bit more and talk a little bit about Ventress's origins. But I want to talk about how hot she is. So we're going to get through this and talk about how hot she is in a minute. I have the Sith Seduction by Pat McGrath. Dude, that is so sad. I have the Sith Seduction palette, which has Darth Vader on it, but I wouldn't say that he's very, he wouldn't seduce me to the dark side. Maybe Padme, but not me, girl. They should put, Chimere or Ventress on Sith Seduction. Did you know that Asajj was originally conceptualized to be the Sith in Attack of the Clones, but was later replaced by Dooku? That man keeps on stepping on her. Which I know has nothing to do with the lore of Star Wars, but the symbolism of Dooku replacing Ventress and then the way that he treats her throughout her whole life. Crazy. And it's in Legends, it's not really canon, but I think that we all just kind of agree upon this. But Ventress was the one that gave Anakin his iconic scar across his face. Asajj's name was originally something else. I forgot, I don't have it written down because her original name was not very Sithy or scary. So they named her after a character from an old Japanese movie, Asajj, called Thorn of Blood. Let's get into a little bit of Asajj's backstory before we continue. So Asajj is a Dathomirian. She's from Dathomir. She's a Night Sister. And she was given up as a baby to slavers, which is so sad, where she was a slave as a baby, as a literal child, just like Anakin. And then pirates came and killed her master and she was orphaned. She was then rescued by a Jedi master who took her in as a unofficial Padawan, just like Anakin. And she trained with this Jedi for 10 years until he was killed by pirates. Picture this, she's a teen at this point. Her master, the only father figure or parental figure in her life, was just killed again by pirates. And she has no guidance, she's completely alone, she's full of anger and rage, and she gives into the dark side, so she just kind of goes all in. She finds revenge by killing and taking over this whole planet that she's on, and becomes a warlord. I think when you hear Asajj's backstory and you learn all this stuff about her past, it really makes sense for the type of character she is and why she's such a lone wolf, and why she's so unwilling to step outside of her ways. And she eventually falls for a trap that's laid out for her from one of the pirates that killed her masters. She's coming for all of them, and one of them is just smart enough to trap her, and he puts her in a gladiator arena where she needs to fight for her life. But this is where she captures the attention of Dooku, and he takes her under his wing as his assassin but eventual apprentice. She never becomes his apprentice, but it's that whole idea of the rule of two. If Dooku is going to eventually overthrow Palpatine or Sidious, he's gonna need an apprentice. And that's what Dooku sees in Asajj. He sees someone that he can mold, someone who's already very strong in the Force, but someone who just needs a little bit of refinement. And this is where we meet Asajj in the Clone Wars. She's cunning, she's cold, she's smart, she's calculated. To sum up Asajj's story in the Clone Wars, which happens over multiple seasons, She is betrayed by Dooku. Asajj is getting too strong and too powerful for Palpatine's liking. So basically he tells Dooku to get rid of her. Dooku tries, fails, of course, and she goes on to go back to the Night Sisters. But Mother Talzin, like the head of the Night Sisters, also used Asajj. Like, everyone is just using and abusing Asajj through her whole entire life. So she gets used by Mother Talzin to like set a trap for Dooku because she has it out for Palpatine and Dooku, and it ends up getting all the Night Sisters killed, and so Asajj is like the last of her kind. At this point, it really is like loss, abandonment, anger that is like fueling her. She does have like an unfinished Clone Wars arc that never, it was like an 8-episode Clone Wars arc that never got finished, and it later got turned into the book The Dark Disciple. And spoilers for The Dark Disciple, if you haven't read it yet, I'm going to spoil it right now, but she dies in that book. Then we see her in The Bad Batch. Chat, I had to do this off camera because it was pretty difficult to do while I was talking. So now that we understand a little bit more about Asajj and where she stands in the Star Wars story, let's talk a little bit more about her as a character. Asajj is hot. That's the whole video. Asajj is hot. Asajj Ventress is a hot girl, and we love that for her. Let's talk about her character design. Is this the wrong? Yeah, this is the wrong one. And let's talk about her concept design too, when she was originally conceptualized as the Sith protagonist or antagonist in the prequel trilogy. This design is so sick, and I think about it a lot actually. Like, I want to cosplay this. She is so cool. Like, she looks like such a scary villain in this concept art. I feel like all iterations of Asajj are really, really cool. Even in her micro series, The Clone Wars, she looks so cool. The comic book versions of her, show me any version of Asajj and I'm going to tell you why I think that it's cool. In every version of Asajj, she's scary, she's intimidating, and she's so unapologetically female. I love that Asajj is just like this sexual being, because we don't really get that in Star Wars. I know that we have like a lot of discussion about women in media being like over sexualized, but in Star Wars, like, yeah, it did happen to like Leia. I mean, we do have like the Hut Slayer outfit, but like she was forced to wear that. Like, Princess Leia wouldn't have worn that. And I love that Asajj really cares about her appearance and cares about how she looks. Like, she fights in a skirt. That's so cool. She shaves her head, and when she decides to grow her hair out, she like has like a very specific style that she goes for. Like, I love that Asajj just chooses how she looks, you know? And she also wears makeup, and I just love the idea of Asajj getting ready in the morning, doing her hair and doing her makeup. This girl has had like all the power taken away from her, and she's continuously getting it back and doing it in every way that she can, whether it's the way that she represents herself or taking over a planet. Like, Asajj is a very sexy character. Like, they made her very sexy, very feminine, and Asajj, like, as a person, knows this. Like, she knows she's hot. Up until recently, I think that it was very rare for us to have a character who was like super sexy and in the dark side. And then now we have like Kyber, who brought like a whole new definition of being seduced to the dark side. But for 20 years, it was just Asajj holding it down.
My dear General, there's nothing you have that I could want.
Canonically, at least. And even though like we do have an attractive Sith character or dark side user in Kyber, like, he's still a man. I think having someone like Asajj, who is a woman, being so sexy, being hot and like unforgivingly hot, and knows that she's hot and like uses that to her advantage, is so cool. I love that about her. Like, she knows that she's hot and she like really uses that to like her advantage, which, as you should, girl. In The Dark Disciple, it makes it very clear in the book how much she uses her sexuality as a thing to manipulate people, and something that she considers using or not using, or if it's failing or if it's working. Like, she's very intelligent, and I really respect that about her. Like, she's hot and smart. I love that other characters also talk about Asajj's hotness. Oh my god, there's powder everywhere. In The Dark Disciple, Obi-Wan warns Quinlan to be careful of Asajj because she's so hot. He says that she is going to use her sexuality and that she's very flirtatious, and basically just warns him like, yo, she's hot, so be careful. There's one thing about me, I love a good romance. And we don't get a lot of that in Star Wars, especially as of recently. It feels like we are in a romance drought. But I want to talk about her romance with Quinlan and why it is so significant and so meaningful. And I think that this relationship is very significant for her because she's able to like let go of a lot of things, like let go of her trust issues. But I think it shows like her willingness to let go of her past. Like I had said, she's already on this path of redemption. But I think at this point when she chooses to trust Quinlan and believe in him when no one else believed in him and was willing to sacrifice herself for him, I think it really showed her like truly shedding the skin of her past, truly stepping into like a new version of herself, which is really sad. I hate that this is how she died. In The Bad Batch, which I haven't watched yet, so I can't really speak about The Bad Batch, she did come back, which is canonically after when she would have died. Let's talk about Obi-Wan, because I actually really love Obi-Wan and Ventress together. The more I research her, the more I kind of ship them a little bit. Like, not really, because I love her with Quinlan, though in my mind, like, I ship everyone with everyone, so who's to say, like, she can't have two boyfriends? I know that Obi-Wan is with Satine, and he would never cheat on her. Anyways, I'm getting a little too far carried away, but I love them together. Their flirting, their banter is just hilarious.
You'll have to do better than that, my darling.
Again, I love how in the book, Obi-Wan is really like, be careful because she's hot. She's hot and she'll seduce you to the dark side because he knows, like...
Ventress?
It looks like I'm here to rescue you.
When did you become the good guy?
Don't insult me.
Ah, what a lovely sight to wake up to.
Don't flatter yourself, Kenobi. You've never been much to look at.
I did come across some comic books with Asajj and Obi-Wan, and actually the relationship together is so much more sweet and sad. And this is why I like started to ship them low-key, because I'm like, oh my god, why am I crying? First of all, in Legends, she dies in his arms because Anakin kills her. What I think is so sweet about Obi-Wan's relationship with Asajj is he really sees her as like her own person, and he really sees her as someone who's been like chewed up by the system, by the galaxy, who's just had all these things thrown at her, and sees that, you know, it's not just her giving into the dark side, it's her having to do what she needs to do to survive. So he humanizes her by like comparing her to Anakin, because he thinks this is what Anakin could have been had him and Qui-Gon not got to Anakin first. And there's this excerpt from Obi-Wan's journal when he is banished to Tatooine watching over Luke, and he compares Ventress to flowers that he sees growing in the desert. At first he sees like a dead plant growing in the sand, and then the next day he passes it again and sees that all these tiny little flowers are blooming, and the next day they're gone because some animal had eaten them. And he can't help but think about Ventress and her journey and the type of person that she is. And then at the very end he talks about how he has some seeds where he's gonna go and plant flowers in honor of her. Why is that so sad, and why do we not talk about that? I think that it's really interesting that Obi-Wan does compare Asajj to Anakin, because I know in more recent times we really see Asajj as a foil to Ahsoka. They're both Padawans of really powerful Jedi who fall to the dark side. Both Asajj and Ahsoka get casted away from their masters, Ahsoka leaving the Jedi Order and Asajj getting almost killed by Dooku, and how they both need to find like their own path in life. Their stories are great mirrors to each other, and it just makes what happened to Asajj even more tragic. Like, Asajj may be a killer and she might be like a morally gray character, but she like does have her own strong set of morals, and I really truly believe that Asajj is a girl's girl. The way that she chooses to help Ahsoka because she sees herself in this Padawan in Ahsoka. Like, I also think when she was helping Boba Fett and they were like stealing cargo, and then you find out later that the cargo is a girl who is being stolen from her brothers to like this old nasty king. She saved that girl, gave her back to her family. She could have did it for the money, but she didn't. That's a girl's girl. But as a lone wolf and as her own agent, like, she really shines through as like a girl's girl, and I love that about her. There's so many things about Asajj that are like so feminist and so womanly, and I just can't help but love her. Her relationship and her dynamic with all of the different characters through Clone Wars, through Star Wars is just so rich with her own flair and flavor. It really is something that is truly special. I wish that her character was explored a little bit more, but you know, you never know with Star Wars. It has been so much fun participating in Ventress Day 2024. If you guys like this video, let me know in the comments down below and give me a thumbs up. And I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day, and may the Force be with you. Bye!